Hey, I'm Kevin with Godlike,
I'm
and
Richie.
Welcome to Tone Talk. Whoa! Is that Richie?
Here
Look
I
at him,
am.
sharp. Different
Hey.
haircut, new clothes. I gave him this shirt,
Pen,
by the way.
pen in the ear.
Pen in the ear. He used to do carpentry. Hey, I'm Kevin with Godlike, and welcome to Tone Talk, episode 5. Cinco de Mayo coming up this weekend. And we're here, we're talking about choruses. Sorry, we had to take a couple weeks off. We're doing some renovations. They still aren't finished. So, anyway, Tone Talk 5, and we're talking about Maxon analog chorus pedals because there's 4 of them in the varying Maxon product series. And people were asking, hey, why don't you do a chorus shootout or roundup, whatever you want to call it. So that's what we're doing today. So these are the 4 models from left to right. CS550 stereo chorus, which is in the vintage series. PAC9 pure analog chorus in the 9 series. CS9 Pro stereo chorus Pro in the 9 series. And the brand new ASC10 ambient stereo chorus, which is in the new Maxon Compact series. Now, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the varying features of these 4 pedals. Then Richie's going to play through them so you can hear the subtle differences between the 4 of these pedals. So we'll start over here with the 550. The 550 is in Maxon Vintage Series, as I said. It's a larger chassis. Its components are a little more spread out, so it's got a very low noise floor. This uses the now discontinued Panasonic MN3207 Bucket Brigade chip, which is a very high quality, low noise analog Bucket Brigade delay chip. And the chorus actually has 4 controls. It has speed, depth, delay time, and on the back here it has a little blend control which allows you to blend in the amount of effect versus the dry signal. It's a great sounding chorus. These used to be buffered mechanical bypass. Now they are true mechanical bypass using a 4-pole double throw, and they have a stereo output, and the stereo the second output is actually 90 degrees out of phase with the original one. So if you plug into that B output, I'm sorry, it's over here, you get a very dramatic chorusing effect because it's got like a phase notch to it. Okay, PAC9, PAC 9. This is a newer Maxon model. When Maxon really delved into doing their 9 series models, it was based somewhat on the Maxon CS505 chorus. It uses a proprietary Maxon Bucket Brigade chip, and but they also run the circuit at a higher voltage internally. It has a voltage doubler, so it's got a lot of headroom, and you can use that in an effects loop or into the front end of your amp. The 550 you cannot. It's only going to work in the front end of your amp, so that's one feature I forgot to mention. The PAC 9 has a simpler user interface. It's just speed and width for the chorusing effect. It does have 2 small mini switches. One is called Pure and the other one is called Bright. With the Pure on, you get a standard chorus, but if you shut Pure off, it boosts the delayed signal by 4 dB, so it makes the chorusing effect a little more dramatic. The Bright switch, if you turn it on, it actually chops your low end by a few dB, so it just kind of, the PAC 9 has a really big low end, big bottom, which makes it great for bass. But if you feel it's got a little too bottom endy and you want a little more top, you could just put that Bright switch up and it'll chop a little bit of your low end. Okay, stereo out, same configuration as the 550. One is 90 degrees out of phase with the other one. Mechanical true bypass with a 4-pole double throw switch. The CS9 Pro is a variation of the vintage CS9 with the addition of 2 controls. It is also practically identical to the CS550 in circuitry, and then people would say, well, why do you have the 2 different models? And the reason being is Maxon, when we first started doing Maxon, the vintage series was being manufactured, which was in the late 90s, and they didn't make the decision to start doing the Maxon 9 series until early 2000s. At that time, in the late 90s, they were still manufacturing products for Ibanez in the 9 series chassis, and they were not allowed to do 9 series pedals under the Maxon brand for export. So once that agreement was over between Maxon and Ibanez, Maxon came out with their CS9 Pro. it has speed and depth controls as well as delay time and blend, just like the CS550. They sound, to me, identical. I've heard some guys say that they feel the CS9 Pro has a little more top end. It's possible the different size chassis could affect the overall tonality, but I don't really notice it. Mechanical true bypass, stereo outputs 90 degrees out of phase with one another. The one difference between the two is the 550 can only run off AC power or DC power with a power supply, external power supply. The CS9 Pro can run off external power or a 9-volt battery in the chassis itself. So if you're looking for something that's a little more compact or whatever, you may want to go with the CS9 Pro. I love the 550. It sounds gorgeous. I love the Pro. It sounds gorgeous too. Last but not least, the new ASC10 ambient stereo chorus, which we've done a video demo for, which should be out anytime. That's just getting edited now. But with the new compact series, Maxon wanted to bring things into a little more affordable price range for everyone. So they worked on doing a standard chassis that's a little smaller, more compact, fits on your pedal board a little more easily. This one weighs about a pound. This is in the same chassis as the new Maxon OD808 reissue that we went over in Tone Talk 1. It's a very simple pedal. Speed and depth controls for the chorus. It has buffered bypass switching instead of mechanical true bypass. Stereo outputs 90 degrees out of phase, battery or DC power. And this one will work in an effects loop as well. The CS9 Pro and the CS550 you can only use in the front end of an amp. Okay, so that's the overview. Sorry for being so quick, but I know it's a lot of stuff to throw at you. But they're basically, they all sound somewhat similar, but there's a feature set difference that can help you to dial in different things. And again, the issue of whether you're running your chorus pre or post gain has a lot to do with it. If you like, if you absolutely have to have your chorus in your loop, then really your choices become the PAC 9 and the ASC 10. But if it doesn't matter to you, if you just run an amp without a loop or you don't use a lot of dirt in your preamp stage, then absolutely CS9 or CS550. One caveat or warning with the 550 and the CS9 Pro: if they get hit, they're very sensitive to input signal. So if they get hit really hard with, let's say, active pickups, EMG pickups, something like that, they can distort. And sometimes we get this complaint from customers every once in a while. The circuits were based on vintage designs from the 70s, really before people started doing a lot of stuff with high output and active electronics. So Maxon, being purists, didn't want to change the circuitry so much. And they do sound gorgeous, but you just have to be aware of that when you're running your rig. So again, if you're using really high output pickups, you may want to just check these first before you decide to purchase them, or just check these two out. So there you have it. So we're gonna play through them. I guess we'll go left to right, and you can hear they're all set with very similar speed and very similar depth settings. Okay, so we're going to start with the CS550 over here. And again, we have these set pretty much to... I will.
And walks Wilson.
I will. How are you, buddy? Okay, you can sit here.
The nice thing about this is no one actually sees him. So you just think you're crazy.
Maybe they don't even...
You're petting
maybe he doesn't even exist. Who knows? Anyway, CS550. Set all of them to pretty much standard subtle chorus sound. Rich? Okay, that's the 550. Here's the PAC 9. This is the CS9 Pro. last but not least, the new ambient stereo chorus. Okay, Rich.
I was gonna say
What's the difference?
You want to A B? let's A B the two that are identical.
Okay, sure.
You know,
absolutely.
we both didn't really hear a difference.
Okay, so here's the 550. Here's the CS9 Pro. Why don't you play a little bit and I'll bounce back and forth, okay?
They're identical to me.
I think I can't really hear a difference. I've had certain customers state that they heard more top end on the CS9 Pro, and again, it could be possible changing the chassis size and the component layout on a PC board can affect the tonality to some degree, but electronically the circuits are practically identical, so I think you're going to get practically identical tones out of them. Okay. Why don't we do a bounce back and forth between the PAC-9 and the ASC-10? Because again, since these are more recent models from Maxon, I think they're a more modern design. They both work in loops, so they've got a little more headroom than the other two models. So we'll kind of bounce back and forth between these two, because these would be the ones you'd be choosing from if you did want to run post gain in an effects loop.
Can I ask, when you say post gain, are you discussing only in a loop or post distortion in your chain of effects?
I'm only talking in a loop.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
if
it's post your distortion pedal, it should work fine.
Theoretically, yeah.
Okay.
If you were going, chorus into overdrive into your amp, there you go. But if you're getting dirt from your amp and you want to run your chorus after that, that's what I'm saying post gain.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the PAC-9. Is that still on? Okay, so 10. Let's do the same thing. We'll bounce back and forth between the two of them. Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead. So what are you hearing?
This one seems a lot more subtle to me. This one's just a little bit more dramatic in every sense of, I don't know, I'm not talking about speed or depth, because you could adjust that, or the width. It just seems a little more intense.
I know what you're saying. If anything, what I was hearing was this one has like a more top-end shimmer on it. This has more of a throatiness to the chorus, a more hollowness to it.
This one seems to thin out your lows a little bit. This one seems to enhance them a little bit.
And again, that would make sense because out of all the four models, this is the only one that has a voltage doubler inside it, so it's got this just massive amount of headroom. And out of all 4 of these models, this one again would work great for bass as well. So if you're a bass player and you're thinking about any of these, I mean, I'm a bass player. I love those 2, but again, you have this issue of if you're a bass player that's using really hot active electronics, then you've got this issue where you may distort the inputs of those the CS550 or the CS9 Pro. So then you've got your Pac 9.
Sure.
So there you go. Okay, why don't we do the CS9 Pro versus the Pac 9? Just so people can hear the difference between those 2 in case they don't, if they're not worrying about where they're running in a loop or whatever, if they just want to hear the tonality. Okay, so we'll start with the CS9 Pro. Why not? What you hearing?
I'm going with your adjective, throaty. This one.
Yeah.
Seems like it actually takes the this one. The CS9 seems to be like this, the chorus. Mm-hmm. The Pac 9 seems to be kind of right up the center a little more.
Yep.
It's difficult to describe. It's just they're just different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, this one seems to me to have a little more top end shimmer again, but a little more full on the bottom than the ASC 10. But then the Pac 9 again is just like it's punchy. I mean, I don't know if this is coming across in the audio here, but what I'm hearing here is just it's just got a lot of low end punch to it, which is not necessarily even a part of the effect. It's just the signal that's being passed through is fuller, and you're getting more of low end off of your guitar coming through. So we're gonna just take a break, and we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna change the position of the rate so you guys can hear them at the maximum rate settings. Okay, so now we're back, and what we've done is we've increased the rate of the oscillator for all 4 models. We kind of dial in, a pseudo rotary speaker effect, which a lot of people use choruses for. So we've dialed this in, and it was interesting to me because as we were dialing in, one thing I noticed was to match the pedals, you had to have different positions on the width or depth pots, and it just took a little more tweaking. It wasn't like you could just set everything the same, all the controls at the same positions and get the same sound out of each one. So you kind of had to dial them in a little bit more. The interesting thing too with the 550 and the CS9 Pro is that delay time pot, because it allows you to do to actually kind of go into flanger territory with the effect. Most choruses have a longer delay time, with flangers having a shorter delay time, and with this you can actually vary the delay time of the effect, which just gives you a lot more variation to the tonality of it. So you're able to dial them in a little bit more. One other thing that's nice about these two that I found was that you have this dry blend, so even if you've got your depth set high, you could kind of roll the chorusing effect back against your dry so it doesn't overtake the whole thing. But we'll let you hear all this stuff. So here we go. So here's the 550 set for a rotary setting. Okay, here's the Pac 9. Okay, here's the CS9 Pro. is the ASC 10. Okay, so what were you getting out of that?
This one gives you the most intense rotary.
Yeah.
Something about the depth of it that sounds more realistic to me.
Okay.
Just an opinion.
Let's do the AB against the 550 and CS9 again, because I thought that was interesting. How similar they were. Choruses.
That's it.
So there you have it. CS550, PAC9, CS9 Pro, and ASC 10. All different variations of your classic chorusing effect. All analog. All amazing in their own right, but different bites for different likes. And also, if you have specific needs, you may want to choose a specific model based on your needs. Again, a brief summary. PAC9 and ASC 10 into the front end of your amp or into an effects loop, they're fine. CS9 and CS550 really only into the front end of the amp will they work. So PAC9 seems to have the most intense effect. CS9 Pro and CS550 have the greatest variety of effects, more controls, so ability to really tweak your chorus setting a little bit more. ASC 10, to me, it's the most hi-fi out of all of them. It's just like a gorgeous chorus. It's like almost going into the realm of digital, in my opinion, where it's just got this really gorgeous top end. So certainly if you're more of a classic chorus fan, like stuff from the 80s, that may be the way to go for you. So and then again, you've got your switching options, these three being true bypass, that one being buffered bypass, but all with stereo outs with the same 90-degree out of phase configuration for the second output. Okay, so there you have it, the Maxon chorus lineup. I hope this was informative for you. This is Kevin, and that's Richie from Godlike. Thanks for tuning into Tone Talk, and we'll be back next week. Thanks a lot, man. Go get some Maxon.
Peace.